It's all
That
well.
is, that is a hat. Oh,
It's
hello.
all well.
Oh, I've got all this foreign stuff in front of me. What's all this?
Oh, that's a good sign.
Arabic.
Well, okay. Now then, we are starting about halfway down Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph, and we are being recorded, just so you know, for the benefit of Malcolm, David, and anybody else who wants.
Morning, Jacob.
Good morning, good morning.
Yeah. So about
Where are we? 34.
34A.
A.
And let me just navigate this a bit more precisely. Yeah. So it's on there. You see in the left-hand margin, you got these two words in big. You got shoel, then you got lelishna in the left-hand margin. So if you go to the word shoel in the big letters, go right into the Gemara and go up 2 lines, and you'll see it says lay at the end of a word. Omalay and
Yes, Omalay.
That's
Yeah.
what we're up to. I'm pointing.
Oh, Omalay Arab Zvid.
That's it. And as per your email, Rav Shlomo, you requested to hear about what Zvid's going to say. Now we're going to find out. Okay, so gentlemen here, do you have the place?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, lovely. So just a tiny bit of a run-in. We've been talking about the halacha of when a guard says he's going to pay for an animal that's disappeared, such that he'll get the tip from the owner that if it turns out that the thing was stolen and there's a double payment, that double payment will go to the guard. And that's a sort of goodwill gesture from the owner to the guard if the guard says he'll pay up front. And we're debating whether this arrangement applies when you got not somebody guarding an animal, but somebody borrowing an animal.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what we dealt with last week with the 2 versions of Poppa, because according to one version of Poppa, when the guard says, "Oh, I'll pay for it because it was my fault," according to the first version of Poppa, that's the only thing he can say. According to the second version of Poppa, according to the second version of Poppa, hold on, just thinking. Yeah, so according to the first version of Poppa, if he says that, then he gets no tip of the chance of a double payment if a thief is found, because that's the only thing he can say. If he says that it just dropped dead in the course of its normal work, he wouldn't be believed. But according to the second version of Rav Poppa, he would be believed if he said that he would pay because it died in the course of. He would be believed if he said that it died in the course of its work. Therefore, if instead the borrower chooses to, if instead the borrower chooses to pay for the cow, then that is fine. And if it turns out afterwards, in fact, it was stolen, there's a double payment, then that double payment goes to the borrower. Now, Reb Zvid is going to weigh in on this last case. Wait a second. There we are. Right. Okay. So our case again. Somebody borrows the cow from somebody else, and then the cow disappears. It's not there. And the owner summons the borrower to base and said, "You meant to give me back my cow, and you never did. What's going on?" So the borrower says, the borrower has a choice. He could say, it died in the course of its work, and one of my workers must have sold it off to the glue factory, and it's no longer with us. Or he could say, I'll pay. And if he says I'll pay for it, then if it turns out that the cow was stolen, then the owner is prepared to gift the double payment from the thief to the borrower.
Doesn't that show decent character saying, I'll pay?
Absolutely. Yes, it does.
But does it?
Well, it shows he's a decent guy, but is he decent enough? And this is where Zvid comes in. So according to the second version of Rav Poppa, absolutely you're right. Rav Zvid's going to argue a little bit. And I think, yeah, he's a decent guy. He said he'll pay, but says Rav Zvid in the name of Abaye, think about it. He was on to a really good deal here. he was borrowing this cow and using it for nothing. As a gift, he got a gift of the use of the cow from his friend.
So he's got every right to pay.
Well, yes. So it granted, said Zvid, if he actually pays,
Different.
he's a decent guy. Then, if it turns out it was stolen, he gets a double payment. If, on the other hand, he just says he'll pay, of course he's cheap. It's all very well, shooting your mouth or saying you're going to pay.
But don't you say, if he says I'll pay, you say, when?
So he says, yeah, soon. I'll let you know.
What we're saying on the other hand, if you say, I'll pay, I'm going home, I want the money, I just go to the bank and I'll get the money. I give you a check.
Yeah, or an IOU. Yeah. So unless actually see the coins on the table, I'm not convinced. And more than that, says Reb Zvid, he was onto such a good thing that the owner will only feel he's a good chap to give him the chance of a double payment from a thief if he actually pays on the spot. If he just says he'll pay, says Reb Zvid, that is not enough. Welcome, Alan, by the way. Welcome.
Alan, where are you? In the Bahamas?
I am in Farringdon, sitting outside, and it is freezing cold.
We're going to look at this.
Wow.
Kids today.
Here, it's not so much a matter of trust as a matter of goodwill. The trust comes into it. The owner thinks, do I feel sufficiently kindly disposed to this borrower that I'll gift him the chance of a double payment from a thief if he says he'll pay? If he pays, absolutely I'll give it to him because he's made sure I'm not out of pocket. That was Johnny Decent to me. If he says he'll pay, I'm not so mad on that. This is what Reb Zvid says in the name of Abaye, arguing with the second version, arguing with Poppa altogether. Reb Poppa said that there may be a situation or Reb Poppa may have said that there's a situation in which even a borrower is considered to be going the extra mile if he says he'll pay. But Reb Zvid says absolutely not. Because
not between you and I, when I say I'll pay, and you say when in the next 3 days. So then you won't go to Basin, you'd wait and see.
Well, I might. I might go to Basin and say, well, I'd just like to get this sorted out. My good friend Reverend Levin, to whom I lent my cow, has confessed the cow has disappeared. We're not quite sure. He thinks maybe it died in the course of his work, or maybe it got stolen. He's not sure.
No, I would say to you, I'm going to pay you right now.
Well, so in that case, so the Basin say, our estimation is that the owner, I don't feel that kindly disposed to you if you say you're going to pay.
I need 20 minutes to go to the bank, withdraw, and give it you.
Well,
why don't you take it to Basin and not wait 20 minutes?
Because what if the thief is discovered within those 20 minutes?
Rabbi, but what if I say, look, this cow died, and you say I don't believe you, and I say, well, I'm going to now go to the Bethany and I'm going to swear. So I'm going to swear that this cow died in its course of its duty.
Yeah.
Surely then the base name has then got to say, okay, well, he's sworn it's got to be the truth. Therefore, pay the guy.
Well, because if he takes his Bible oath in Basting that it died in the course of its work,
doesn't get paid.
We must believe him. We must.
Yeah.
So, Reb Poppa, presumably according to what you're saying now, in Reb Poppa's first version, it's saying that he's afraid to say it and he doesn't want to say it with an oath. He doesn't want to go that far. That's why it's not an option for him. But let's say that he did actually, tough it out and go to Basting and make his oath.
Yeah.
That would be the end of the story, because even a borrower is exempt if it died in the course of his work. And he made an oath.
Right.
We can't touch him. So, but then he wouldn't get the double payment if it turns out it was stolen. Because he's not done anything especially nice to the owner. He just made an oath to become exempt.
Okay, but he hasn't paid. And so he's due the money, but going back to this, he's due the money, and the owner says, I don't believe you.
So the owner's due the money.
No, sorry, the borrower I'm getting confused as well. The borrower now has said, look, this thing has died. Okay, we're dealing with the fact that if it's died, he's not due anything anyway. Okay, move on. That's it. Okay, I've just clarified it myself.
All right, no,
Thank you.
okay, so we're all square. So Zvid says again, if a borrower says anything about paying, that's very nice, but it's not good enough. The owner will only want to give him the tip of a chance of getting a double payment if the thief is found if he actually pays. Then the owner says, "You're a diamond guy. I let you."
The owner doesn't have to do it, because even if he is a diamond guy, he pays there.
Yeah, if the owner says explicitly, "I will not give you the double payment," then you're right. But especially if he says it from the start, and then it's set up the way. If he says it later on, I'm not sure. It may be that it's assumed that that was the T's and C's from the start. I'm not sure. But certainly, if he says right from the start, if it gets stolen or if whatever happens, I will not gift you the double payment from a thief. That is excluded from this arrangement. If the borrower takes it on those terms, they're great. But as usual, and I said it so many times, I'll say it again, we're talking about sloppy people, and they drive us mad because they make these ad hoc arrangements on the back of a fag packet in the pub, and then we, the based in, have to discern what was probably meant, what is the norm, and go with that. Because if they had it all written down in the contract, as you say, we'd be fine.
Don't you say that if you've got no aid in, you've got, there's nothing valid in what you're saying.
We absolutely do say that, but here the question is the borrower's undertaking to pay enough to trigger an assumption of goodwill from the owner?
What if it doesn't say anything, if it's found anything, and then the borrower says, don't you think you should tell me if it's stolen, you should give me
Yeah. So then the based-in might have to assess whether the way it was set up would mean that normally the assumption from the start would be that the owner would say that. And if that would be the norm, we go with that even if the owner now protests. I reckon that's the case. It's a nice point, thank you.
Aren't you looking at something else in all of this? That is character, the borrower. Now, even if he swears, it was a beautiful commentary, I think, in the Hertzfleisch in more modern times that Orthodox Jews would not swear in the court.
Yeah.
Because if you can't believe without swearing, then why should you believe with swearing? It's also chilul if you like. But what if we know? What if this guy is known? He can't make a shahur, but he's known not to be on.
But if he's perjured himself with an oath beforehand, we don't allow to make an oath.
But why say he hasn't? But you can say
He's a gamma, he's stolen.
He's done things.
Then again, he disqualifies himself from making oath, and we throw him out. You're quite right. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a simple case. Cardboard cutouts as usual. Okay, so let's look at the Gemara inside. We'll see what Zvid says. Here we are. Amalei Zvid. Zvid said, Hachi Amar Abaye. Thus Abaye said. I was going to make it a bit bigger. See? Shoyer ad she'eshalim. If a borrower wants to get this double payment chance from the owner, ad she'eshalim, he'll only get it if he actually pays. If he hasn't yet paid and then the thief is found, he doesn't get it. My time, and what is the reason? Since he can get every kind of benefit from this cow while it is lent to him, but the owner doesn't feel that he's such a diamond guy if he just says he'll pay the value of the cow, and therefore the owner should give him the double payment. No, the owner will say, if you actually pay me the value of the cow, then I think you're a nice fella. But until that point, you've taken my cow, you've used it for a week, now it's disappeared. I'm not happy about this. If you say you're going to pay me, that's not enough. You're going to actually pay me for me to clap you on the shoulder and say, you are a decent fella, therefore I'll give you the double payment from the thief if it turns out that it was stolen. Until such time as the borrower actually puts the money on the table, the owner does not think that jovial thought.
Permission to speak.
Yes, b'chavod.
Thank you. Do we see a contradiction here? Because I just hear how you explain the Gemara of what Reb Zvid has to say in the name of a buyer. But if we take a step back for a second, the owner of the cow in this example was content to lend the cow to the borrower, the chatchila.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure on terms, but he still had the confidence in the borrower to lend the animal in the first place.
Right.
So he must have had some confidence in the person.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, for example, lend your cow to Tommy Robinson, Lahavdil, or I don't know, Oswald Mosley. You wouldn't lend them the time of day, never mind a cow, which is, in this example, a valuable animal. So then how does he come along in the example and say, well, I'm not too sure that I trust you about this payment because you were content to lend him the animal?
Right. Thank you.
I don't know if that went round and round a bit, but you see what I'm trying to say.
I have to say, yeah, okay. So because this is recorded, I must state for the record that I'm apolitical, have no views on any politician, including Tommy Robinson. That's for starters. Second,
I'll take a view on your behalf if that's okay, Rabbi Lister.
Well,
I'll take a view.
No.
we'll do that till another day. As for the confidence in the borrower, well, yeah, I think you're right. That of course, when he lent the cow to him, he trusted him. But I think that trust has been somewhat shaken because he's turned back and the cow's gone. It's just not there. The field is empty. And he says, "Where's the cow?" And the owner says, the borrower says, "Well, I don't know. I left it with my employees, and they've not got a clue, or they're all gone on now because they're just itinerant workers just for the day." And I know. And now he's feeling a bit less jolly about the whole situation because his cow disappeared. It's a beautiful cow. Now it's gone.
But as Reb Levin just said, I think it's totally. Reb Kramer just said it's totally contradictory. So because you've got the Talmud is giving you two versions of it, right? So it's totally contradictory. And if it was totally contradictory, I would have thought in real terms, and Rev Kramer, as you just said, it's contradictory. If you were the judge here, you would say too contradictory, throw it out.
Well, hang on, Colin, hang on, because I think actually the rabbi has explained it for me. And let's see if I've cut the thing here. There is a change of circumstances. Originally, the owner was content to lend the animal to the borrower, who he thought was okay. But now the change of circumstances arises because the animal, which was his pride and joy out of his Frisian herd, has disappeared into the ether, and he holds the borrower responsible. Is that right, Rabbi?
Absolutely.
Right. So therefore, a change of circumstance is enough in the rabbi's answer, which I accept wholeheartedly, to make him look at the borrower in a different way. Is that the point, Rabbi?
Can I add something as well? I think that the borrower, whether it's, as you said, Oswald Mosley or Tommy Robinson, whoever else it might be, is only really one part of this. And it's impossible for the borrower to be watching the cow 24/7. And so that cow can happen to it, irrespective of how confident the person was in letting them have that animal. So that's only really one part of it. It's an important part, but it's only one part because they can't be watched 24/7.
Yeah, there is that as well. Obviously, the borrower will use that argument as best he can. Although I suppose when you do borrow something, you take that chance that if it disappears, you are liable, even if it's entirely not your fault. In
the same way in banking, if you've got a AAA credit rating and you've got the top credit rating, you're much more likely to lend someone money because you've got a better chance of paying it back. But as we know, there are downgrades the whole time, and people can quickly go from treble A down to B, B minus, C, or whatever, and then they default and you don't get your money back. So circumstances change.
Yeah, there's always that element of risk. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so again, Reb Zvid is saying that because the borrower had such good use from the cow, he's basically exhausted most of the owner's goodwill already. And that goodwill will not be restored by the borrower undertaking to pay. It'll only be restored by him actually paying. And once he actually pays, the owner says, you know what, he's all right, really. So if it turns out it was stolen, I'll give him the double payment. That's what Zvid says. Now then, what we're going to do now is we're gonna see how Rav Poppa and Rav Zvid fit with a certain brisa. And it seems to go very much Rav Zvid's way. And what we're going to do is see if we can make it work into Rav Poppa as well. Tanya Kavasti to Rav Zvid. I have a brisa, says the Gemara, which goes just like Rav Zvid. And this is, you see what it says shoyel in that Taisus on the left in the big letters. We now align below the big word shoyel. In the middle of that it says Tanya Kavasti to Rav Zvid. We've got a brisa which goes according to Rav Zvid. What does it say? So now the next line you've got hashoyel with a little, I think it's a ches right on top of it at the beginning of the line there on the right hand side. Hashoyel per mechavera. This is what brisa says. If somebody borrows a cow from his friend, v'nignava, and it got stolen, v'kidim hashoyel v'shilei, and the borrower did a sort of preemptive strike, and he paid. V'achakach nimtza haganav, and then the thief was found. Mishalim tashlumi kefel, he pays a double payment. La shoyel, to the borrower. Now you tell me, why does this fit according to Rav Zvid and not according to Rav Poppa? It's actually staring. It took me a long time to spot it.
Rabbi, could you repeat the question? I just didn't hear. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. The answer is actually staring us in the face. Once you know, it's dead easy. When it took me a while to find it. So again, Rav Zvid's case, the Brisa case is like this: if somebody borrows a cow from his friend, and it got stolen, and the borrower went ahead and paid the value of the cow to the owner, and after that the thief was found, and he got to pay a double payment, unlike any thief. To whom does he pay that double payment? To the borrower. Why does that fit with Rav Zvid and not with Rav Poppa? Correct. Fabulous. Thank you, Sakar.
What did he say? Sorry, we missed that.
So the Brisa says the reason why in this Brisa the borrower gets the double payment is that he didn't just say he was going to pay the owner back for his lost cow. He actually did it. He said, "Giving hashoyel v'shilei."
Quite right.
Had any paid.
Makes sense. He paid it.
Absolutely. So
he's bought the option basically.
I'm sorry.
He bought the option. Absolutely,
that's right. And Rav Zvid said, "You see, that's just like me, because he didn't just say he was going to pay. The Brisa says that the borrower only gets the double payment when because he actually paid." So Rav Zvid says, "You see, I'm right. How about that?" And Rav Zvid can now sit on the sidelines feeling rather content. Rav Poppa is a different kettle of fish. Now we recall there were two versions of Rav Poppa. Rav Poppa one said, if a borrower says he's going to pay, that's not enough. Because we say, well, he's really no choice but to pay, because if he says it dies in the course of its work, he wouldn't be believed anyway. That was Rav Poppa's thinking. So let's see how this works. So the Gemara looks at this. L'lishna kamod Rav Poppa, according to the first version of Rav Poppa, vadai lo yahav yituvta. This is not a problem, because Rav Poppa likewise says that if he says he's going to pay, he's done nothing special. He had no choice but to say he was going to pay, because if he says it was lost, he's got to pay. If he says it was stolen, he's got to pay. If he says he was negligent, he's got to pay. If he says he got struck by lightning, he's got to pay. The only instance where a borrower would not have to pay would be if it died in the course of its work. And according to Reb Poppa version 1, he's not able to say that because he doesn't think it'll be believed. So if he says he's going to pay with you square, you're not such a grace and son. You're just saying what you got to say. So according to version 1 of Reb Poppa, the borrower will only get the goodwill of the owner to acquire the thief's double payment from him if he actually pays. So the Brisa also fits with Rav Papa 1. But Rav Papa 2 is a problem. In Rav Papa 2, he says the borrower could have said it died in the course of its work. And when he says, I'm going to pay, we think, what a nice guy. He says he's going to pay. The owner feels a great weight lifted off his shoulders. All his money problems are sorted. He has peace of mind. Therefore, he says, you know what? You're such a great fella. If the thief is found, you'll get the double payment. That was Rav Papa 2. And this Brisa says he only gets the double payment if he actually pays. So this Brisa contradicts Rav Papa version 2. Because the Brisa says the borrower only gets the double payment from the thief if he actually pays. But according to Rav Papa 2, if he says he's going to pay, that's enough for him to acquire the chance of the double payment, because he could have said it died in the course of his work. So, how will Rav Papa version 2 explain this Brisa? Really hard. So, Rav Papa has a go, or the Gemara has a go on. Amalach Rav Papa, sorry, let me just go back a bit. Lalishna Basha, according to the second version of Rav Papa, Lemoti Havitiote, let us say that this Brisa refutes the second version of Rav Papa. So the Gemara says, now we're just opposite where it says Lalishna in Tosis. In the big letters there, you go right from there, it's in middle line, Amalach Rav Papa. Rav Papa will say to you, Mi alim or mi masnisin? Is this any better than the Mishnah? The Katani Shilling, where it said he paid, and we said it meant he was going to pay. We toyed with this idea a while ago. So here also, when the Brisa says he paid, says Rav Papa version 2, doesn't mean he actually paid. It means he said he was going to pay. Like we said before, this is old news, says Rav Papa. We've long been accustomed to interpreting the statements of the Tanoim in this way. When it says he paid, he said he was going to pay. So in that case, it fits perfectly with Rav Papa. And the Gemara says, oh, I'm not sure about that. I mean, nice try, says the Gemara, but the devil's in the detail here. Midomi, is it similar? Hossam, there, when we talked about our own Mishnah, which started at the beginning of the chapter, like Otani Kidem, it didn't say he went forward, he went ahead. Hacha, here, Katani Kidem, it says he went forward. So Rav Papa said, no. What does it mean? My Kidem, what does it mean he went forward? Kidem va'ama. It doesn't mean he went forward and paid. It means he went forward and said he was going to pay. So the Gemara says, you're going out on a limb here and it's going to get worse. So now we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines before the bottom of the page. And I said, no. Midakatani, Midakatani Gabi Sefer V'Oma. It says, look at the whole Brisa in context. With somebody hiring the animal, it says that he gets the thief's double payment just by saying he would pay. The Gabi Shoel, hidden. In the case of the borrower, it doesn't say he said he would pay. It would say he went forward and paid. Why have you got the difference in expression here? The lessor, the person renting the animal, it says he gets a double payment if he says he's going to pay. With the borrower, it says he went ahead and paid. Why is there that difference? Says the Gemara.
But there lies the contradiction.
Well, it's meant to be a contradiction.
Because I'm saying, you could say, well, I'm following this Brisa, right? And the other guy would go, well, actually, no, I'm following that Brisa. So
yeah. We have it as a last resort, but it's thin gruel. We don't like to do that unless we absolutely must.
No, but that's clearly what's going on here, because the contradiction is what's bothering me the whole time. Is that
not
I could
no.
have they shaken hands?
The Poppa is still in the ring. He's not done yet. He's not done yet.
Okay.
You'll be amazed. Okay, he's gonna have.
No, I'm already amazed.
It's round 10. He's on the ropes. He's not giving up. All right, he's gonna go back in there and give it.
Good for him. Good for him.
So again,
I'm all for survivors.
the Poppa's a survivor. Giving that. So the Gemara says, in the case of a renter, it says he said he was going to pay. In the case of a borrower, it said he went ahead and paid. Why is there that difference, says the Gemara, between the two cases? To tell you that when the renter says he's going to pay, that's enough for him to get the chance of the double payments. But for a borrower, it's not enough to say he's going to pay. So the Brisa changes his expression to say he actually paid.
Now, who's got the cash?
The borrower. He's the one who's going to have to. The thief. The thief has the double payment. The question is, to where does that go?
Right.
So, again,
follow the money.
I'm sorry.
Follow the money.
Absolutely, that's all we ever do in this. Yeah. Okay. So from the fact that the Brisa uses a different expression for a renter to the one it uses for a borrower, that tells us that the Brisa actually tells us two different things. That in the case of a renter, because he paid, he gets the owner's goodwill that bit more easily, simply by saying he's going to pay. But in the case of the borrower, he only gets the owner's goodwill if he actually pays, which is why the Brisa used a different expression, Kidei v'shilem. He went ahead and paid. Not that he went ahead and said he was going to pay. That's what it says with the renter. He said he's going to pay. But in the case of the borrower, it doesn't say that in the Brisa. It says he went ahead and paid, meaning he actually paid. So the juxtaposition of the two tells you different expressions because there's different rules.
But going back, Rabbi, when I say follow the money, I don't mean follow the money as in pray to the money. I mean follow the money, meaning, okay, so where is the money? Okay, who has the money? And the person, if he hasn't handed the money over to the owner, or the other way around, who's got the money? Surely the person that's holding that money at that time is correct. If I haven't paid you, okay, but I've promised to pay you, so that means I'm still holding the money. Not so clever. If I've handed it and you have got the money, there's the answer. It's yours.
You're almost right, but it's not actually relevant here. Because you're right that possession is 9/10 of the law. Absolutely. Right. In the case of doubt. But here, the doubt is not about what happened. The doubt is about the halach. And we're trying to refute one interpretation of this halacha altogether, and say that that's actually, there's not a doubt here, that's wrong, because it goes against the Brisa. Because the Brisa, by bringing these different expressions in one breath for two different cases, the renter on the one hand who just says he's going to pay, and the borrower on the other hand going ahead and paying, that tells you it's different rules. And we know why, because the borrower has exhausted the owner's goodwill by taking his animal for free for a week. The renter, he paid for use of the animal, so he's got goodwill right up front. So, Poppa is going to come back and say, I still think I'm right, despite this price, and I still think that if a borrower says he's going to pay, that should be enough to get in the owner's goodwill. How can he possibly pull this off when the price itself gives different expressions for the different cases? So he says, aha. So let me just back up a tiny bit. The Gemara says, since with a renter it says he said he was going to pay, and with the borrower it says he went ahead and paid, you see from there that it's two different cases. It's not a saying that he paid, meaning that he said he was going to pay. No, because if it meant he said he was going to pay, it would have said the same thing as with the renter. Since it uses different expressions, it's talking precisely. So Rav Poppa comes back again. He says, I'm not done. Midi Gabi had Midi Gabi Hadadi Tanya. were these two cases taught at the same time, as I said before, in the same breath, such that there was that the expressions were carefully chosen, and we have one for the renter and one for the borrower. Maybe they were taught at different times at different places, and somebody later cobbled them together into one brisa, in which case the juxtaposition loses its force. Because when the person talked about borrow, and he said kidding the shilling, he said he paid, he meant he's going to pay. He said he was going to pay, whatever. And in the case of the renter taught in a different time, a different place, they're not actually saying to pay. When you put them together, they were just sort of kept together, but you don't read too much into the difference because it's just two different cases, stuck together with a bit of sellotape. So the Gemara says, well, let's find out. Shailina Latanoy, they asked the people who teach prices, Devei Rabbi Chia, Devei Rabbi Oshia. They asked the people who taught in the house of Rabbi Chia and the house of Rabbi Oshia. They said, were these two parts of the price taught in one breath, such that the difference in expression is meaningful? Or was the case of the renter taught clearly, and the case of the borrower taught a little bit imprecisely, and when it said pay, it said you pay, and then they would just whacked together into one. And they said, Gabi, Hadadi, Tanyan. They were taught at the same time. So the difference in expression is deliberate, and therefore it means specifically that the borrower paid, and therefore the second version of Poppa is refuted. It is contradicted by this brisa. Therefore, we don't like to go with it, because if you're going against the brisa and you're only an Amira, a later authority, you're on shaky ground. So Reb Zvid is in the clear. First version of Reb Zvid is in the clear. But if you're going to tell me that a borrower can get the double payment as a goodwill gesture from the owner merely by saying he's going to pay, you are on thin ice. And that is our lot.
Much like Alan looks like he is at the moment. Looks like he can suffer from hypothermia on thin ice.
And he's nice enough.
Can I tell you, I'm sitting outside, and it is honestly freezing.
Look at.
I hope the warmth of Taylor will
Can I say something really interesting at the end of this? It's really ironic that we're talking about cows and everything, and the farmers at the moment are having this massive protest outside of Parliament on this exact subject.
Yeah. Everything the Gemara. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's amazing. Yeah. We always come back. I must tell you a little thing about next time. We're going to talk next week about a guard, you'll love this, who says he's going to pay and then changes his mind.
Interesting.
The gunner. He's a gunner.
Well, we don't know. Does he get the goodwill payment if he changes?
It's a Rolex case. Watch it.
So
You're right.
That's what we'll have to do with next time, where the guard says two things one after the other. We have to discern what did he mean to say, and was that enough to get the double payment? Because if the thief pitches up after he said a whole lot of things,
It's a different level altogether.
but that's next week, please, God. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you all. Be well. Good day.
See you next week, please, God.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.